Oh boy, here we go. Fife Property update. Let me get some details together about what's going on and just make sure I've got all the right information at hand so you can find out about what's going on in the Fife Property market today. Let's just get some housekeeping done and we'll go live on Instagram. Here we go then. Share screen and I'll show you the numbers for this week past. So this is the numbers for this week past. This is the 7th of April to yesterday, the 13th of April. This is right across the whole market, as you can see, right there, and we'll show you the figures. Right across the whole market in the micro regions of Cooper, East Neuk, St Andrews, Leadmouth, Dunfermline, Glenorchy, Kirkcaldy. To anybody that doesn't know what this means, this is the total numbers of properties instructed, in other words, put up for sale on Rightmove in that week, compared to the total number of property sold in that same week. This gives a great idea across the regions or the micro regions of supply and demand. It gives you a good indication as a buyer or a seller where the market is right now and how healthy the market is right now and how much you potentially could be paying more than the home report value. Or it could be the home report value, or could it be under the home report value? Let me tell you all about this and explain to you. I'll also be talking about what's coming to market as well. So what's coming to market with us, what's actually sold with us last week, gives you a good indication about what property prices are going for, and also what's actually completed with us as well. In other words, keys handed over, how much we got for it over the home report value, and how quick it's sold as well. We're allowed to tell you all these things. Once it's concluded, we're allowed to tell you the actual prices it went for and if it was more than the home report or not. Interesting reading this week. US inflation has just come out this week. US inflation had a surprise jump, yes, from 3.2 to 3.5. Market was completely unexpected. The head of JP Morgan, the bank in America, actually said there's a potential he could see base rates in America going up to 8%. Now it's sitting at 5 to 5.25 just now as a range. He was talking about maybe it could end up going up to 8%. This could maybe, I don't know if it could have a knock-on effect or not, but if US tends to act like that and their base rates tend to go up, then the UK tends to follow suit as well later on. It'll be interesting to see what the inflation figures for the UK are this week on Wednesday when they're released and when they're announced, if they've actually gone slightly up or they've stayed the same or potentially they've gone down. Who knows? Actually, it will give us a real good indication of what's happening. Now, we'll give you a wee bit of insight into this. The wage negotiation, in other words, salary negotiations year on year, is higher than inflation right now. So that could give you a strong indication about where inflation could end up going. So all will be revealed on Wednesday, and we'll talk about that as well. The house price index for the UK is out on Wednesday as well. I'll be talking about the Scottish one and also the Fife house prices and what they've actually been achieving over the last year on the Wednesday and throughout this week. I'll probably do that Thursday and Friday, depending on when the information's out, so I don't bombard you all at once. But good information out there. As I said, huge inflation jumps as fuel and housing costs rise, and it could have a knock-on effect to the UK. UK inflation could follow. You never know. They were talking to the Financial Times today about this. I've got it here, the article itself. They were talking about the Financial Times about inflation in the UK. Potentially, the US has gone up 2 months in a row. The UK has actually gone down. So it's not followed suit in the last couple of months. So you never know where it could happen. Let's see what happens on Wednesday, as I said. Interesting reading overall, though, in the Financial Times and also on the US information statistics on inflation on the BBC website as well. I normally don't take the BBC, well, I take it tongue in cheek, but it's factual information. It's data they're reporting. They're not saying what their opinion is, or they're not making it up, or it's not a dramatic headline or anything like that. It's just factual information. So it's good insight into where the market is right now. A couple of articles we did during the week for if you're yesterday actually, if you're a landlord or investor and you're ready maybe for your tenant moving out, some of the things to think about, actually Richard and I did a great show on that yesterday. The link is in this post to the article if you want to read it. It's 4 minutes long, but we did talk about this, about tenant moving out, some words of advice on reletting your property too fast. So don't jump in It's the old adage, and I actually quoted it this week: "As fools rush in where angels fear to tread," especially when it comes to property investing. Uh, this is why we talk about it a lot and teach our investors are with us, and our landlords are with us as well, and how to invest wisely in property and not actually get overexcited. It's quite a boring business, by the way, but boring pays well, whereas excitement, you get lost in the in the mist when it comes to it, and you sometimes end up buying something that you shouldn't have bought in the first place or invested in the first place, and it's no easy to then get out of that. So it's good to take advice from people that have done it before. 30 years at this, at property investing. I think I know a thing or two. So we'll talk about preparing for your tenant's exit. We'll also talk. I also talk about the fact that um, why is your tenant actually leaving? It's possible that it's maybe just a small minor thing that could be rectified. Therefore, you could actually sort that out, and your tenant doesn't need to leave at all. And therefore, happy days, win-win situation. Full occupancy rate still, rent coming in still, tenant happy. They've got everything resolved they wanted resolved as well, and that's the win-win situation you should really be after in the first place. You want to have as little as possible tenants moving out, because you want to maximise your occupancy rate. And if you don't know what occupancy rate is, you need to read that article and watch the show, listen to the podcast as well. That is the most important thing you could ever do for your financial for your financial future, I would say. And we'll talk about that towards the end in the wealth creation show we're going to be doing tomorrow, and I'll talk about what I'm going to be doing itself. Quarter 1. No, let's go back to the statistics. We'll come on to another report in a minute. So right across the Fife property market, this is quite interesting. Right down at the bottom, 154 properties actually listed on Rightmove, 141 sold. Now, there's a wee bit of maybe a wee bit of different information here. Let me just explain to you. In Cooper, fine, 17 versus 13. So demand, supply, fair enough. It's okay. East Nuke, similar as well, 7 versus 6. So it's really buoyant in the East Nuke market still. St Andrews, 12 versus 13. But I actually took 7 of that out. So that's 19, no, 12 versus 3. So I actually took 7 out there. So it's 19 versus 3. Now, the reason I took 7 out of that 12, off of that 12, when it was really 19, was because they're new build. New build does not appear in the sold column. We don't know. We can't track it. So therefore, it goes on. It's the builders. They put all the properties up for sale on Rightmove, but they never actually put them sold on Rightmove. So it skews the figures. So we actually take them out. So just to give you an insight, there's quite a lot of new build actually listed this week. It's not in these figures, so it gives you a real good idea about the supply chain just now in the market. This gives it a picture like that we've got a healthy market, but we've got a lot of supply coming on. A Leavemouth, 12 versus 9. So Leavemouth's doing quite well. Dunfermline 65 versus 70, but there's 18. So Dunfermline should be 70, 80, 83. So 83 versus 70. So there you go, because there's 18 new builds in Dunfermline actually coming through Rightmove. Glenorchy 16 versus 20. It looks like there's more demand than supply, but 16 on top of that, 32 it should be, with the new build in there as well. So hopefully everybody understands what that is, and why we're taking that out. It's really to compare apples with apples on a consistent basis, so we understand. But new build coming into the market, it's been listed as round about 41 this week, 41 over and above that 154. So there's a lot of properties come on. So it gives you an indication about all the properties coming. Now, when a new build comes on and it sells, clearly someone else is going to be selling another house, because new builds are actually quite high prices. It's unusual for a first-time buyer to move into a new build straight away, because they're usually typically around about 200 to 350,000. So it's not exactly in first-time buyer territory. So there will be another property coming on if somebody buys a new build, hence the reason why that it's good to actually know how many new builds are getting listed, because obviously if somebody will buy it, and then there'll be more properties being instructed and less properties actually getting sold in comparison to it. But in this scenario, if you divide 141 divided by 154, you get 91%, which is a really good market. Overall, 81% and above is a good market. But if you add on the 18, 16 and 7, which is the 41 plus the 154, 195, 141 divided by 195 equals 72%. So under 81%, but still pretty good considering there's a huge amount of new build come on. That will probably typically change next week though. So 1 week does not make a trend, remember. Just be aware in certain areas there is a wee bit oversupply with the new builds that are getting done. Cooper's obviously going to have that sooner or later with the 1,500 houses that are due to, on the planning, due to actually start to get built over a period of several years. So Cooper will start to experience that overall as well. So if you're in the Cooper area, I'd probably suggest if you're thinking about selling the next year or two, do it now, because that's probably going to be the best time, because you're going to have the most amount of eyeballs on your property, because most people will start to go for new builds more than likely, because they make it more affordable and everybody likes a new build. That's what you typically find when you buy a new build and you try to resell a new build when everybody else is actually still building new builds in the same area. It's usually typically quite difficult to get it sold. And it's purely for the fact that everybody likes to buy the new build rather than actually buying the one that somebody's just moved into and 6 months later they're actually putting on the market. I know the back garden's probably landscaped, the carpets are all down, the walls are painted, there's nothing to do, all the snagging's been done. But for some reason, it's just human nature that everybody wants to buy a new build from the very start, because it's like it's the first time anybody's actually lived in that house. I had it before myself. I bought in Veterano Vale a long time ago when it was originally built across from Diageo and Leven. And therefore, what happened was they were still getting built when I was getting built, and everybody was wanting to buy the other ones, and I couldn't shift mine. And therefore, I had to take a hit on it. And that was a lot of years ago. Fortunately enough, I had geared it properly, so I was able to offset a capital loss against a capital gain at that point in time. So it was a neutral transaction for me overall, but overall, you would lose on that in that scenario. So just be aware of that if you've got a new build right now and you're looking to sell it so soon after actually moving into the property, and just be aware that there is a potential that you might struggle a bit trying to resell it as soon, because there's more properties of that similar type getting built anyway, and typically more people go on to buy these rather than buy what they class as a resale. In other words, in their mind, it's a second-hand property. I know it sounds daft, but that's just human nature and psychology. Q1 2024 property market report is out. We did this during the week. The Q1 2024 property market report. That was a great insight into the property market in terms of supply and demand. You should be watching that. If you're thinking about selling or you're selling right now, that is a great insight into where the Fife property market is in the last quarter and where it will be in the next quarter, this quarter we're in now, and also the second half of 2024 into 2025. It is a real eye opener, and I wrote loads and loads of stats in there of all the regional and micro-region areas like Leven, Glenrothes and Cooper, and we broke it all down into St Andrews and East Neuk and what's happening in each market, because what happens in St Andrews is a completely different thing about what happens to property in Levenmouth or in Glenrothes or over in Dunfermline. It is completely different. And St Andrews and East Neuk don't follow the same pattern either does Cooper. So this is why we focus on micro-regions overall, so people understand in their property market what's actually happening. So the UK property market update and the Fife property market update with the regional property market updates were done this week. If you want to see that and you've not seen that, or you want to listen to the podcast, or you want to just read the article about the Fife property market, the podcast and the show actually, and the video actually does go into huge amounts of detail and length and micro regions, whereas the overall article itself just focuses on the Fife property market in general. But if you want to see the regional articles, we'll have put them individually on each page. A bit of raking about, but podcast is probably better listening to. It takes a lot. It's easy. You can just do it in the same time as you're maybe doing some work around the house, or you're maybe working on something else, or you're maybe outside having relaxing. Or, well, maybe you didn't want to hear me if you're relaxing. I wouldn't want to hear me if I was relaxing either. But that's another story. I have to live with you for the rest of my life. Anyway, okay. So what's coming to market and what's actually sold this week with us? Let me just skip here. This one is away. Now, this is White Rose Terrace. Now, give you an idea about this. There was a 2-bedroom mid-terraced house, and it was on offers over 120,000. It did take a few months to actually sell, typically longer than usual. And this was 120,000. Now, these houses usually go pretty quick, so you never know what could happen. This just gives people an insight. So this gives you an insight. If you've got a property round about that price and you think, yeah, it's going to sell, no bother, think again. Think again what happened with this one. It took quite a while to sell, way beyond average. to sell. So think again how long your property would take. Could you wait that long for your property to actually sell? Or are you under pressure to get a deal now because you've made an offer on another house? That is the worst situation you could ever be in. That really puts an amount of stress on everybody as a result of that. Learn to know how to manage a sale. In other words, how to get the best of everything, how to get your buyer to agree to the move-in date you want to allow you to find your next property, and then you're more or less in a position a lot better than everybody else that you've got your property sold with a confirmed commitment, an entry date which is flexible for you, but it allows you to go and then look at property with that sort of buying power overall, that you're confident enough that your house is going to go through, and that will put you up the chain in order for buying. You will be a lot better off making an offer with someone, and therefore they're more likely to accept yours, other than you actually just putting your house in the market for the first time, or not even got your house in the market at all. So that's why you put yourself in a prime position by managing the sale. If you want to know more about that and you're not really sure what managing a sale is in order to get the best of everything, then please feel free to reach out and contact us about that. The next one, it's sold this week with us in Strathmiglo. So this is a cash views in Strathmiglo. It took 3 weeks. It's a 3-bedroom semi-detached bungalow. It was on offers for 280,000, and it is away. What's going to be coming soon? Let's talk about that. What's coming soon with us? We'll be doing pre-portals. We'll be doing walkthroughs this week. The Fuse in Fruki, a 4-bedroom detached house, is signed up. At Well Street in Cooper, a 4-bedroom end terraced house is signed up. Warrout put my teeth back in. Warrout Bray in Glenrothes, a 3-bedroom end terraced house is signed up. Hoggate Avenue in Leven, a 2-bedroom ground floor flat is actually signed up. These are actually really popular. Ground floor flats, apartments, especially in Hoggate Avenue as well. These are extremely popular. You need to contact us now if you're interested in that one, or any of the other ones actually, because you could end up missing out, and you'll not get a chance to get in there. I've potentially also got a bungalow coming up as well, a 2-bedroom in the Cellar Dyke area. 2-bedroom bungalow at a fantastic price point. If you want to know more about that, you need to message us direct and contact us about it. Completed. Keys handed over the line. Cooper Road, Largo Ward, a 2-bedroom semi-detached house. It sold originally in 3 weeks, and it actually just sold for the home report value, 180,000. Probably got it right, smack bang on. That's probably the right price. Sold in 4 weeks for 180,000, and it was sold to a first-time buyer. 180,000. First-time buyers are able in that position, some of them, to be able to afford that price point. So you get a first-time buyer market. You could potentially get a resale market. You could potentially get a downsizer market for a 2-bedroom semi-detached house. So there's a good amount of audience for these types of houses. So they will be popular when they come on. So if you're looking to sell, by all means contact us and we'll give you more insight into that. Further details, let's move on from there. Where are we now and where are we talking about? Let's finish off with the Wealth Creation Show tomorrow. So Wealth Creation Show tomorrow, Richard and I will be talking about, what are we talking about? I know what we're talking about, happiness and prosperity. Happiness and prosperity. Now, wait a minute, you talked about that last week. This is part 2. Part 1 was last week, about how to develop cash flow and how to develop wealth and all the rest of it. Part 2, tomorrow at 12:30, we're going to be talking about what is the definition of happiness and a prosperous person. In other words, what is the definition of a happiness and prosperous person? Happiness and prosperity. And indeed, a wealthy person can be defined as someone who is doing what they love and earning a substantial annual income together with having high value assets. I think I know a bit about that. A bit about that. I do what I love, and I'm that as well. So I could talk about that tomorrow, and I'll be giving you an insight into that. Richard typically hosts these events, and I typically talk about my personal experiences and give people an insight into how they could do that themselves. If I could do this, anybody else could do this. Anybody else could develop a wealth way beyond what they're actually thinking about right now. You just have to have faith and believe in yourself. And that's why we talk about every single week on the Wealth Creation Show at 12:30 live. And that's the whole point, to impart that knowledge and information. And so it's not lost to eternity Whenever anything happens to me, it's all gone. So it's all about downloading that information and all that detail and all that knowledge and expertise and wisdom that I know onto a video record, onto a podcast, so people can see timeless content for the rest of their days, and it will never go out of date. This is timeless content. Now, it's not me, it's really telling this. It's just all the people that have come before me. It just so happens I'm the channel for it, because I've read all the books, I've listened to all them, I've talked to them, I've spoken to them, I've been with them, I've spent time with them. So it's a knowledge and insight into what I've learned from all these people, and I'm imparting it in the wealth creation shows every single week. So definition of happiness and prosperous person tomorrow, part 2, 12:30. See you there live. Until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties TV.